Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
Simelang Asheni Ralocha Sanwanani Mulweni. My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News Channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our communities. Now, in a post a couple of weeks ago, right, former US President Donald Trump accused South Africa of confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. Now, he went on to threaten cutting off all future funding to South Africa over what he called a massive human rights violation. Now, of course, this is a direct response to the signing of the Expropriation Act into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa in January, which allows for land to actually be taken without compensation under certain circumstances, and which has been the subject of many controversy, right? Now, Trump's comments have drawn a sharp response from many quarters here at home, including the radical right-wing lobby group AfriForum, which has been lobbying the US government on this issue for many years. But let's be clear, right? The Expropriation Act was not created to punish white people or to spark any kind of racial war. It's about righting the wrongs of apartheid, about finally addressing land dispossession that left Black South Africans, which is the majority of the population, with less than 4% of the land in this country. This isn't about resentment or revenge. It's about justice. I mean, let's talk about history for a moment, right? In 1913, the Natives Land Act was passed, which forcibly removed Black South Africans from their land and relegated them to poor, overcrowded areas, while white South Africans kept the lion's share of the land. Now, this was part of a system of institutionalized racial oppression that continued for decades. And when apartheid ended in 1994, the country was supposed to embark on a path of reconciliation and healing. But for many, the reality is that the legacy of that land theft is still very much alive today. And this is where the issues actually lie. Land reform is about restoring what was lost. It's about correcting a historic injustice that has kept generations of Black South Africans in poverty with limited opportunities and marginalized. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, which is the white privilege that still exists in South Africa today. You don't even have to look far to see the inequalities that continue to persist. And yes, right, the ANC government has made some strides in addressing these issues, but it hasn't been enough. White South Africans still own 3/4 of the country's farmland, while Black South Africans, who make up 80% of the population, only own a mere 4% of that. I mean, this is not just about economics. This is about a history that is still being carried forward in the very land that our forefathers worked, fought, and died for. Let's have a look at this video.
You are basically asking Donald Trump to target ANC leaders. What does that mean for our country? Because this is the leaders of our country you're talking about.
Yes, it means when you push through destructive policies that are going to harm South Africa and regular South Africans, you should face consequences for it. We want the international role players to target with sanctions South African politicians that push through evil and destructive policies, not to punish the citizens of this country. And that has always been AfriForum's stance. As I said, we have the receipts to prove it. You can go through all of our stances on this issue over the years. It's always been punish the politicians that are seeking to push through policy for their own personal agenda and their party's own agenda rather than for the good of the country, and that will bring about the change that's necessary in South Africa.
We're going to have a Columbia moment pretty soon. Now, I know that Donald Trump and Cyril Ramaphosa had a phone call before Davos. Donald Trump didn't even greet him, didn't pay him any respect, and basically the message was to Cyril Ramaphosa, your time is coming, pal, you and the ANC. America will wait until An ambassador is in place, and the Under Secretary of State for Africa has been appointed. And watch those appointments, because the focus of those two people on behalf of Donald Trump and his organization, his MAGA, his cabinet, his government, are going to turn their spotlight onto the ANC and onto South Africa. And there are words, big trouble ahead for Cyril and his merry men in the next few months. It's going to happen. What exactly that means, we're yet to find out. But Cyril is running scared. And I know that because we've heard it from Gwede, Fikile, and all the people around him. Cyril basically came off that phone call with Donald Trump scared as hell. And that's a good thing.
Now, AfriForum's response to Trump's comments is very telling. I mean, they're asking the US government to sanction South Africa or at least target ANC leaders. But here's the problem. AfriForum is ignoring the reality that land reform is a constitutional right of a democratic South Africa. You can disagree with the law. You can protest and challenge it in court and lobby parliament, right? But it is completely unacceptable to call on foreign governments to intervene in our sovereign affairs. And let's take a moment to think about this, right? AfriForum and groups like it are not speaking for the majority of South Africans. They are the vocal minority who seek to protect the privileges of the bygone era. And their lobbying of Donald Trump and their continued attempts to portray white South Africans as victims in the aftermath of apartheid is an insult to the very people who suffered under the system of racial oppression. It's as if they've forgotten about the generations of Black families who lost their land, their dignity, and their very identities at the hands of their ancestors. In fact, it's been pointed out, quite frankly, that white South Africans have never truly confronted the crimes of apartheid. And we've never truly asked for forgiveness for the brutality that Black South Africans endured. I mean, we've never made reparations for the land theft, the forced removals, and the labor exploitation that kept Black people in a perpetual cycle of poverty. When Black South Africans ask for land, it's personal. Because for many, it's not just about soil or property, it's about identity, about ancestral ties, and about legacy. I mean, I read a couple of stories of people who have shared their experiences on social media, and most of the people cannot even visit the graves of their ancestors because the white landowners refuse to give them access. People who have had their families dispossessed and displaced from their homes only to see others live in land that was never theirs to begin with. One user even shared the painful reality of trying to visit their great-grandmother's grave, only to be denied by the white man who now owns the farm. And another spoke about their grandfather being forcibly removed from his land and how their livestock would disappear every week and never the white man's. Now, this isn't just about land. It's about history. So when people like AfriForum and Donald Trump tell us that land reform is racist or unfair, they need to think about this. White South Africans have had land, wealth, power for centuries. Black South Africans have had their rights to the land stolen and their dignity stripped away and their voices silenced for generations. Now, and I know this is a deeply divisive issue, but emotions are running high and there are valid concerns about how the land reform process will unfold. But the Expropriation Act is not perfect, but it is a step in the right direction. And the law is designed to ensure that the land is given back to those who were dispossessed of it in the past. But we must do it carefully, I believe, and responsibly, without destroying the economy, because I believe that we must find solutions that benefit everyone and not just those who are always at the top. But with that being said, what is unacceptable is having foreign governments, particularly the US, try to hold our country hostage because they don't agree with our democratic process. South Africa is a sovereign nation with a constitutional democracy. We do not need foreign interference. And the real issue here is that Trump's comments, fueled by AfriForums and Elon Musk's lobbying, are trying to distract us from the real injustices facing South Africa. And to the white South Africans who continue to push this narrative of victimhood, I say it's time to wake up, because the land reform debate isn't about you losing what you have been handed on a silver platter. It's about correcting a historic injustice. It's about you stepping up and acknowledging the past. And to the rest of us, let's not be swayed by the loud voices that seek to divide us. Let's keep pushing for the land, the dignity, and the justice that has been denied to us for so long. I believe that this is the time. Now, with that being said, please let's continue the conversation in the comment section. And while you at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me till